The stars shimmered above Earth's orbital defense station as Captain Lisa Morgan stared through the viewport. The message had arrived 3 days ago, and humanity had been holding its collective breath ever since. First contact. Real. Confirmed intelligent alien life. Captain, they're approaching the designated coordinates, said Lieutenant Greg Walsh, his eyes fixed on the monitor. Lisa nodded, smoothing down her crisp uniform. At 42, with 20 years in the Earth Defense Force, she never imagined she would be the one to greet beings from another world. Her short brown hair was neatly trimmed, and her green eyes reflected the distant lights of the approaching alien vessel. Weapons status, she asked, more from habit than concern. All systems ready, but inactive as agreed, Greg replied. Conventional ballistics on standby, energy shields at minimum power. The alien ship grew larger in the viewport. It looked nothing like the clunky human vessels. This craft was smooth, almost liquid in appearance, glowing with a soft blue light that seemed to flow across its surface. It's beautiful, Lisa whispered. The communication system chimed. Lisa took a deep breath and pressed the accept button. This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the Earth Defense Force. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to our solar system. The screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, slender being with iridescent blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. 4 arms were folded in what looked like a gesture of peace. Greetings, Captain Morgan. I am Ambassador Zex Toril of the Vexari, representing the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace and friendship. The ambassador's voice was melodic, translated perfectly by the advanced AI system the aliens had provided in their initial communication. The meeting moved to the station's conference room. The Vexari delegation consisted of Ambassador Zex Toril and 4 others. They moved with graceful, fluid motions, as if gravity affected them differently. We have observed your planet for some time, Zex Toril explained. Your species has progressed remarkably quickly from atmospheric flight to space travel. Lisa nodded. Necessity drives innovation. Earth's resources were dwindling. The conversation flowed smoothly until one of the Vexari noticed the sidearm at Lisa's hip. The alien's eyes widened. You carry a projectile weapon? Zex Toril asked, 4-fingered hand pointing at Lisa's standard-issue pistol. Yes, standard for all Defense Force personnel, Lisa replied, confused by the reaction. The aliens exchanged glances. But your planet has developed energy-based weapons. We detected them on your orbital platforms. Lisa nodded. We have energy weapons, yes, but we maintain a variety of defense systems. Zex Toril tilted his elongated head. Curious. Most civilizations abandon physical projectiles once they master energy manipulation. We find value in maintaining diverse technologies. Lisa explained. Different situations call for different tools. The aliens seemed disturbed by this concept. As the meeting continued, Lisa noticed how the Vexari delegates kept glancing at her sidearm with what seemed like a mixture of fascination and disgust. After the initial meeting, Lisa received new orders. Earth's leaders had accepted an invitation for a diplomatic mission aboard the Vexari flagship, Celestial Harmony. They specifically requested you, General Alan Pritchard told her. You made quite an impression. Lisa packed her bags that evening, including her service pistol. When her second-in-command questioned this, she shrugged. They already know we carry them. No point hiding it now. 2 days later, Lisa stood in the shuttle bay of the Celestial Harmony, a vessel larger than any human ship ever built. The interior was a marvel of technology, surfaces that responded to thought, gravity that adjusted to individual preferences, and displays that appeared in midair without any visible projectors. Ambassador Zex Toril welcomed her personally. Captain Morgan, we are honored by your presence. The Confederation is eager to learn about humanity. Lisa smiled. And we're eager to learn about you. As they walked through the gleaming corridors, Zex Toril gestured to her hip. I must admit, your weapons technology hierarchy puzzles many of our scientists. Perhaps during your stay, you might explain why humans cling to such diverse methods. Lisa noticed the careful choice of words. "I'd be happy to, Ambassador. Sometimes old ways persist for good reasons." Little did she know how soon those reasons would become clear to their new alien allies. Lisa Morgan's team grew the next day when John Harrison arrived on the Celestial Harmony. John was a Marine with 25 years of service, his face weathered from deployments across Earth and Mars. His gray eyes missed nothing as he took in the alien ship. "Quite a place they've got here," he said quietly to Lisa as they walked through a hallway that seemed to shift colors with their moods. "They want to understand our weapons," Lisa explained. "That's why I asked for you specifically." John nodded, patting the holster at his side. "And they let me bring this on board." "They're confused by it, not afraid of it," Lisa said. "To them, it's like seeing someone use a stone axe." Ambassador Zex Toril met them in a large room that the humans would later learn was called the Knowledge Exchange Chamber. The walls displayed moving images of stars and planets, creating the feeling of floating in space. "This is John Harrison, our weapons specialist," Lisa introduced. Zex Toril extended two of his forearms in greeting. "Welcome aboard, Specialist Harrison. We are eager to learn about human defense philosophies." Several other aliens entered the room. One was shorter than Zex Toril, with skin that shifted between green and purple. Another had 6 limbs and moved like flowing water. "These are members of our technological council," Zex Toril explained, representing different species of the Confederation. The shorter alien approached John. "I am Science Director Mira. May I ask why you carry an explosive-propelled metal projectile device when your species has mastered energy manipulation?" John looked at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. "Reliability," John said simply. "Energy weapons are powerful, but they can fail in many ways. A good old gun rarely lets you down." The aliens exchanged glances that somehow conveyed both amusement and concern. "Perhaps a demonstration would help us understand," Zex Toril suggested. They moved to a section of the ship that had been prepared as a weapons range. The walls seemed to absorb sound and impacts. Alien weapons lined one wall, sleek devices that looked more like art than tools of war. Mira lifted one of these devices. It hummed softly and glowed blue along its length. "Our standard peacekeeping tool," she explained. A target appeared at the far end of the room. Mira pointed the device, and a bright beam shot forth, creating a perfect hole through the center of the target. Clean, precise, and civilized. John nodded appreciatively. "Impressive power." "May I?" he asked, gesturing to the weapon. Mira handed it to him. John examined it carefully, then aimed and fired. Another perfect hole appeared next to the first. "Nice balance," he commented. "What powers it?" "It draws energy from ambient particles in space," Mira explained. "It never needs recharging as long as matter exists around it." John raised his eyebrows. "So it draws power from its environment. What happens if the environment is disrupted?" The aliens looked confused. "Why would the environment be disrupted?" one asked. John handed the weapon back and drew his own pistol. "Our environment gets disrupted all the time. Solar flares, EMP attacks, power grid failures." He checked the safety, aimed, and fired at a new target. The sound was jarring in the quiet room. "This works no matter what." The aliens flinched at the noise and smell. Zex Toril's skin flickered in what might have been distress. "Such violence in the method," he said. "The crude chemical reaction. The noise, the projectile tearing through matter." "Sometimes violence is necessary," John said simply. "Better to have options than to be helpless." Later, Lisa and John attended a formal dinner with the Confederation representatives. They noticed how the aliens were arranged in specific patterns, with some species clearly given more prominent positions. "Your civilization is impressive," Lisa said to Zex Toril. "How do you determine status among your member species?" Zex Toril's skin shifted to a proud blue. "The Confederation ranks civilizations by technological development. Those who have advanced furthest lead the way for others. And where would humans rank? John asked. Zextoral hesitated. Your energy technology would place you as a mid-tier civilization, but your continued reliance on primitive physical weapons. He didn't finish the sentence. John and Lisa exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand the problem. In the Confederation's eyes, Earth's hybrid approach wasn't seen as wisdom. It was seen as a failure to evolve. 3 days into their stay on the Celestial Harmony, Lisa and John were invited to visit a nearby Confederation outpost. The small space station orbited a moon in a neighboring star system, serving as a research facility and trading post. This will give you a better understanding of how our various species work together, Ambassador Zextoral explained as their shuttle approached the gleaming structure. Lisa watched through the viewport, noting the lack of visible weapons on the station's exterior. No defense systems, she asked. Science Director Mira made a sound like gentle bells, which Lisa had learned was their version of laughter. We have no need for visible weapons. Our energy shields render physical attacks useless. The shuttle docked smoothly. As they disembarked, Lisa noticed John subtly checking his sidearm. After their weapons demonstration, the aliens had reluctantly allowed him to keep it, though they clearly found it distasteful. Just habit, John said quietly when he caught her looking. Never walk into a new situation unprepared. The outpost was beautiful inside, with soaring ceilings and walls that seemed to be made of living crystal. Aliens of various species moved about their tasks, many nodding respectfully to Ambassador Zextoral. This outpost monitors the border regions, explained Zextoral. Beyond our space are areas not yet brought into the Confederation's peace. As they toured a laboratory, an alarm suddenly blared. The sound was unlike anything human, more like a wave of pressure against their ears than a noise. What's happening? Lisa asked, her hand automatically moving toward her own weapon. The aliens around them froze momentarily, their skin colors shifting to darker hues. A voice spoke in multiple languages over a communication system. Security breach in sectors 3 and 4. Unknown vessels have bypassed outer sensors. All non-security personnel evacuate to safe zones. Zextoral's skin paled to a light blue. This is highly unusual. We must move to the command center. They hurried through corridors that were now bathed in a pulsing purple light. Other aliens rushed past them, some looking frightened. The command center was a circular room filled with floating displays. Officers moved with quick precision, their 4 arms working multiple controls simultaneously. Status report, Zextoral demanded. 3 vessels of void crawler design, answered an officer. They've somehow penetrated our outer shields without detection. Void crawlers? John asked. A faction that rejects Confederation unity, Mira explained quickly. They'd raid outposts occasionally, stealing technology and resources. An explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered, and several displays vanished. They've targeted our power core, the officer reported, voice rising. Shields failing in sectors 7 through 12. Another explosion, stronger than the first. This time, all lights went out. After a few seconds, dim emergency lighting activated. Energy grid compromised, the voice announced. All energy-based systems operating at minimum capacity. In the dim light, Lisa saw the aliens' weapons flicker and die. The security officers looked at their now useless devices in confusion. What's happening to your weapons? She asked. They require ambient energy to function, Mira explained, voice tight with fear. Without the station's power grid, they cannot draw sufficient power. A crash echoed from a nearby corridor. Sounds of movement followed. Heavy footsteps approaching the command center. They're boarding us, Zextoral whispered. Without our weapons, we have no defense. John moved to the door, drawing his pistol. Lisa did the same, positioning herself on the opposite side. Get everyone back, John ordered. The aliens complied, retreating to the far side of the command center. The door slid partially open, stuck in its track without full power. A dark figure pushed through, taller than a human, with chitinous armor covering its body. It carried a crude-looking bladed weapon in one hand and a device that emitted a low hum in the other. Without hesitation, John fired. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. The intruder fell back. Two more tried to enter, and Lisa fired twice, dropping them both. The aliens stared in shock as John moved forward, checking the corridor. "Clear for now," he reported, "but there will be more." Zextoril approached slowly, looking at the fallen intruders, then at John's pistol. "Your primitive weapon, it still functions when our advanced technology fails." John nodded grimly. "That's exactly why we keep them around." Hours after the attack, the outpost was back to partial power. The void crawlers had retreated after John, and a few other humans from a nearby trade ship had repelled them with their projectile weapons. Now the Confederation security team was investigating how their systems had been compromised so easily. Olivia Wells sat at a terminal in the outpost library section, her fingers moving quickly over the alien interface. At 35, Olivia was the Earth Defense Force's top analyst, with a background in both military history and alien technology. She had arrived on a routine supply ship just before the attack. "Find anything useful?" Lisa asked, stepping into the room with 2 cups of a blue liquid that tasted almost like coffee. Olivia nodded, accepting one of the cups. "I think I understand why they're so confused by our weapons choices. Look at this." She gestured to the display, which showed the evolutionary history of the Vexari homeworld. Unlike Earth, it had been remarkably stable for millions of years. No ice ages, few natural disasters, and a very stable magnetic field. Their entire civilization developed in an environment where electronics were never disrupted, Olivia explained. They never needed backup systems because their primary systems never failed naturally. Lisa looked closer at the display. What about the other Confederation species? Olivia pulled up more files. Similar stories. The Niveri evolved on a moon with no weather. The Zenth come from a world with no tectonic activity. They all developed in environments where technology could advance without natural interruptions. John joined them, sitting heavily in one of the floating chairs. "Earth was never so kind to us." "Exactly," Olivia said, pulling up images of Earth's history. Solar flares, geomagnetic storms, volcanoes, earthquakes. Our planet taught us from the beginning that no technology is fail-safe. Zextoril entered with Science Director Mira and another alien Lisa hadn't met before, smaller than the others, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. "Captain Morgan, may we join you?" Zextoril asked. Lisa nodded, and the aliens arranged themselves around the display. Olivia explained her findings to them, showing how Earth's volatile environment had forced humans to develop backup systems and redundant technologies. "So your weapons philosophy comes from your planet's instability," Mira said, her tone suggesting a new understanding. The smaller alien spoke, its voice surprisingly deep. "I am Historian Krell. This information aligns with an old Confederation theory that species' approaches to technology are shaped by their homeworlds." "It's more than that," John added. "Earth's history is filled with examples of advanced civilizations falling to primitive ones because they became too specialized, too dependent on single technologies." Lisa nodded. "We have a saying. Advanced doesn't always mean better. Sometimes it just means more specialized, more dependent." The aliens were silent for a moment, processing this perspective. Finally, Zextoril spoke. "The Confederation has lost contact with several outposts near Void Crawler territory in recent months. We assumed communication failures, but now I wonder if they experienced attacks similar to ours. And your fancy weapons couldn't help them," John said bluntly. Instead of taking offense, Zextoril's skin shifted to a thoughtful purple. "The High Council dismissed my concerns, suggesting that proper energy weapon upgrades would solve the problem. But if the Void Crawlers can disable energy systems, then energy weapons are useless," Lisa finished. Olivia pulled up a map of the region. You said these outposts were all near Void Crawler territory. Mira nodded, pointing to several locations. These 7 stations have gone silent in the past 30 Earth days. The human team exchanged glances. This was bigger than a single raid. Ambassador, Lisa said carefully, I think Earth might be able to help. What would you say to a joint human-alien expedition to investigate these outposts? With your diverse technology, Zex Toral asked. Exactly, John said. We bring our primitive weapons along with your advanced systems, cover all our bases. Historian Krell's skin rippled with what looked like excitement. A fascinating proposition. It would be the first such collaboration in Confederation history. Zex Toral was quiet for a long moment. The High Council will resist this idea. They believe strongly in the hierarchy of technological development. Then don't tell them, Lisa suggested. Call it a cultural exchange mission. We can provide Earth Defense Force personnel and equipment without making it official. The ambassador's skin shifted through several colors before settling on a determined blue. I will arrange it. The safety of our people matters more than technological pride. 2 days later, a small ship called the Resilient departed from the main Confederation fleet. The name had been Lisa's suggestion, a word that seemed to capture the spirit of their mission. The vessel combined alien technology with human modifications, including backup systems that could run without the main power grid. The team consisted of Lisa, John, and Olivia from Earth, plus Commander Trell and Science Officer Nix from the Confederation. They also brought along Sergeant Kyle Peterson, a veteran scout with tracking skills that had proved useful in Mars colony missions. Trell was not happy about the mission. His 6-limbed body moved stiffly as he inspected the human equipment being loaded aboard. These metal weapons are inefficient and dangerous, he complained. That's the point, Kyle said, securing a crate of ammunition. They're supposed to be dangerous. Lisa watched the exchange with concern. If they couldn't work together, the mission would fail before it began. Science Officer Nix was different. The small, silvery alien seemed genuinely curious about human technology. Your species adapted to unreliable conditions, Nix said to Olivia. Fascinating evolutionary response. The journey to the first missing outpost took 16 hours. As they approached, the ship's communication system activated automatically, sending standard greeting signals. No response, Trell reported. Sensors detect the station is intact, but without power. Life signs, Lisa asked. Nix checked the readings. Energy scanners show nothing. The station appears empty. Kyle looked up from where he was checking his rifle. Those scanners rely on detecting electrical activity in living bodies, right? Correct, Nix replied. So if someone were in a very low energy state, hibernating, unconscious, or using tech to mask their signature, would your scanners detect them? Nix paused. No, they would not. John nodded. That's why we don't rely solely on energy scanners. They docked at the silent station. The airlock worked on manual backup, allowing them entry. Inside, emergency lighting cast weak blue shadows across empty corridors. The air was breathable but cold. Power has been out for at least 5 days, Nix said, examining a dead control panel. Main systems, backups, everything. The team moved cautiously through the station. John and Kyle led with their projectile weapons ready. Trell watched them with obvious disapproval, but said nothing. In the main control room, they found signs of a struggle. Broken equipment lay scattered across the floor. Dark stains marked the walls. Same attack pattern as our outpost, Trell observed, but more thorough. They took their time here. Where are the bodies? Olivia asked, looking around the empty room. Maybe they took prisoners, Lisa suggested. Kyle had moved away from the group and was kneeling near a ventilation shaft. He ran his fingers along the floor, examining the dust. What are you doing? Trell asked. Tracking, Kyle replied. Old school. He pointed to faint marks on the floor. Someone has been moving through here recently, dragging something. And look. He held up his fingers, showing a small smear of liquid. This is fresh. Nix approached, scanning the substance. Biological. Matches Nevari physiology. They're still here, Kyle said, standing up. He pointed to the ventilation shaft. In there, hiding. Trell looked skeptical. Our scanners detected nothing. Your scanners detected no energy signatures, John corrected. But Kyle found physical evidence. That's why we use multiple methods. It took an hour to locate and open the hidden compartment behind the ventilation shaft. Inside, they found 12 Confederation citizens huddled in darkness. They were weak, dehydrated, and terrified. A female Nevari spoke first. You came. We thought everyone had forgotten us. Lisa helped her out of the hiding place. What happened here? The Void Crawlers, she whispered. They came with a new weapon. It shut down everything. Our shields, weapons, even personal devices. We had no defense. Nix moved forward, scanning the survivors. How did you survive without life support for 5 days? The Nevari pointed to simple mechanical devices around their hiding space. Emergency supplies. Old technology that doesn't require power. The station designers included them even though they were considered obsolete. Trell looked stunned. Mechanical air filters. Chemical heating. These haven't been used in Confederation design for centuries. Someone thought they might be needed someday, Lisa said. Someone understood that advanced doesn't always mean better. The Nevari nodded weakly. The Void Crawlers are planning something bigger. They spoke of it while searching the station. A final attack to prove that the Confederation's reliance on energy technology is its greatest weakness. After rescuing the survivors, the team hurried back to the Resilient. Their plan was simple: get the civilians to safety, then investigate the other missing outposts. But as they approached their ship, 3 dark vessels appeared on their sensors. Void Crawler ships, Trell announced, his voice tight. They must have detected our arrival. The survivors trembled at the news. They're coming back to finish what they started, one whispered. Lisa took command. Everyone on board now. We're leaving. They barely had time to secure the hatch before the first enemy ship fired. The shot wasn't designed to destroy. Instead, it released a pulse of energy that washed over the Resilient like a wave. Inside, the lights flickered and died. Control panels went dark. The gentle hum of the engines faded to silence. Energy dampening field, Nix explained, voice rising in panic. All our systems are shutting down. Trell moved frantically between dead control panels. Weapons offline. Communication offline. Propulsion offline. The Confederation members looked terrified, but Lisa exchanged a quick glance with John and Kyle. They had prepared for this. Switch to backup systems, Lisa ordered. The ones we installed. John moved to a panel on the wall and pulled the lever. Dim red lights came on, powered by chemical batteries rather than the ship's energy core. Kyle opened a compartment and began distributing handheld radios. Mechanical communication, he explained to the confused aliens. No energy signature to dampen. Captain Frank Daniels, who had been piloting the Resilient, activated a secondary control system. Manual thruster controls responding, he reported. Limited, but functional. Outside, the Void Crawler ships were approaching. Soon, they would attempt to board. They think we're helpless, Lisa said. Just like all the other outposts they attacked. John opened a large metal case, revealing an assortment of projectile weapons. Time to disappoint them. Trell stared at the weapons. These will not be enough against their numbers. Olivia stepped forward, holding a different case. We brought more than just guns. She opened it to reveal devices that looked crude compared to Confederation technology. These are old-style explosive mines. Completely mechanical triggers. No electronics to disable. The Confederation members watched in fascination as the humans quickly organized a defense. Kyle and Frank positioned the mines near likely entry points. John and Lisa distributed weapons to everyone who could use them. Olivia set up simple tripwires connected to alarm bells. "This feels primitive," Nix said, awkwardly holding a pistol John had given her. "Primitive works when advanced fails," Lisa replied. They didn't have to wait long. A hard thud against the hull told them the void crawlers had attached to their ship. Metal screeched as the invaders began cutting through the outer door. "Everyone in position," John called. The first entry point burst open, and 3 void crawlers pushed through. They were tall, insect-like creatures with natural armor and multiple limbs. Each carried the humming device that generated the dampening field. They stepped forward confidently, then froze at the sight of the armed humans. The lead crawler made a clicking sound that might have been surprise. Before it could react further, John fired. The bullet struck the dampening device, shattering it. The crawler screeched and fell back. More invaders poured in from a second entry point. Kyle's mines detonated with deafening booms, throwing the attackers back in confusion. Lisa and Frank fired steadily, their bullets finding gaps in the natural armor. One void crawler managed to reach Nix, who stood trembling with the pistol. The scientist hesitated, then squeezed the trigger. The shot went wide, but the noise was enough to make the attacker pause, just long enough for Trell to tackle it from behind. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, the surviving void crawlers retreated to their ships and fled. In the sudden quiet, the team surveyed the damage. The Resilient was battered but intact. Several crew members had minor injuries, but everyone had survived. Trell approached Lisa, his movements showing new respect. "Your primitive methods saved us all." Frank nodded as he bandaged a cut on his arm. "That's why we keep them around." Nix was examining a disable dampening device they had captured. "Fascinating technology. It creates a field that disrupts energy flow at the subatomic level, against purely energy-based weapons and systems. It's the perfect counter," Olivia finished, "but useless against mechanical devices." Lisa looked at the defeated void crawlers lying on the deck. "We need to warn the Confederation. This isn't just about a few outposts anymore." With the Resilient's main power slowly returning, the team gathered in the command center to examine their findings. Olivia and Nix had been studying both the captured dampening device and data recovered from the outpost's damaged systems. "I found something important," Olivia said, displaying information on a screen powered by their backup system. Records from the outpost show the void crawlers were once part of the Confederation. The aliens looked shocked. Trell's multiple limbs twitched in agitation. "That is classified information. How did you access it?" "Paper records," Olivia explained. They kept physical backups of their most important historical documents. The void crawlers didn't bother destroying paper when they disabled all the electronic systems. Nix moved closer to examine the documents. "This is true. The species now called void crawlers were once known as the Venlat. They were early members of the Confederation." "What happened?" Lisa asked. Trell's skin darkened with what seemed like shame. "They were removed from the Confederation 300 years ago." John crossed his arms. "Removed? Why?" Nix answered when Trell remained silent. "They refused to adopt our standard weapons protocols. They insisted on maintaining physical weapons alongside energy-based systems. The Confederation considered this barbaric and uncivilized." "So you kicked them out for doing exactly what humans do," Kyle said flatly. "The High Council gave them a choice," Trell said defensively. "Embrace modern technology, or leave Confederation space." They chose to leave. Olivia pulled up more information. "And they've spent the last 300 years developing technology specifically designed to exploit your weaknesses. The energy dampening fields," Frank said. "They knew exactly how to disable your systems because they once used them." Lisa began to understand. This isn't just about raids and resources. It's revenge. They're proving a point. The ship's communication system suddenly activated, restored by the returning power. A message from Ambassador Zex Toril appeared on the main screen. "Captain Morgan, we've lost contact with 3 more outposts. The High Council is concerned. What have you discovered? Lisa explained their findings, the survivors, the attack on their ship, the true identity of the Void Crawlers, and the effectiveness of human primitive technology against the dampening fields. Zextoral's skin rippled with multiple colors. This changes everything. The Void Crawlers, the Venlat, were right all along. The High Council will never admit that, Trell argued. Our entire civilization is built on the belief that technological advancement means abandoning physical weapons. Your entire civilization might fall because of that belief, John said bluntly. Nix had been quiet, studying the dampening device. Now the small alien looked up. I've analyzed their technology. They are planning something larger. These devices can be scaled up to affect entire star systems. The implications were clear. If the Void Crawlers deployed such weapons throughout Confederation space, their entire civilization would be defenseless. We need to stop them before that happens, Lisa said. We need to find their main base. Olivia nodded, already working on the ship's navigation system. The survivors mentioned a place called the Darkfield Nebula. If I cross-reference that with known Void Crawler movement patterns, we found it, she announced minutes later. A large installation inside the nebula, hidden from standard scans. Frank studied the location. The nebula will interfere with many of our systems. Getting close won't be easy. That might be our advantage, Lisa suggested. If our technology is already compromised by the nebula, the dampening fields might not affect us as much. John nodded. And we have human technology to fall back on. Trell looked uncertain. This is beyond our mission parameters. We should return to the fleet and let the High Council decide. By then it might be too late, Lisa argued. The Void Crawlers are ready to strike. They've been planning this for centuries. Nix supported her. Captain Morgan is correct. Standard Confederation protocols are not suited for this threat. Lisa looked around at the team, humans and aliens together. We have a chance to prevent a war. To show the Confederation and the Void Crawlers that there's a middle path, not abandoning advanced technology, but not relying solely on it either. Trell finally nodded. What is your plan? Lisa smiled. We're going to fight fire with fire, or in this case, fight their technology-disrupting weapons with technology that can't be disrupted. The Resilient approached the Darkfield Nebula cautiously. Swirling gases in purple and blue surrounded them, interfering with their sensors and communications. As predicted, many of their advanced systems began to fail even before they reached the Void Crawler base. This is why they chose this location, Nix observed. The natural properties of the nebula enhanced their dampening technology. Inside the ship, the team made final preparations. Their plan was bold but simple. Use a combination of human projectile weapons and Confederation energy technology to disable the main dampening field generator. Frank would pilot the ship close enough for a small team to board the base. Lisa looked at their unusual arsenal, pistols and rifles alongside modified energy weapons that Nix had redesigned to function in short bursts despite the dampening field. Everyone clear on the plan? She asked. The team nodded. They had trained together for 2 days, learning to combine their different fighting styles and technologies. Base and visual range, Frank announced from the pilot's seat. The Void Crawler headquarters was massive. A dark structure built into an asteroid, surrounded by smaller ships. Large dishes pointed outward, ready to broadcast the dampening field across Confederation space. They haven't spotted us yet, Olivia reported. The nebula is masking our approach. They moved in closer. When they were within range, John activated the simple mechanical launcher. It sent a series of small projectiles toward the base. Not bombs, but devices designed to create a distraction. The devices detonated, creating bright flashes and smoke on one side of the base. Alarms began to sound as the Void Crawlers responded to the apparent attack. Now, Lisa ordered. Frank guided the ship to a docking port on the opposite side of the base. The boarding team, Lisa, John, Kyle, Trell, and Nix, moved quickly through the airlock. Inside, they encountered exactly what they expected: dim lighting, minimal power, and an environment designed to function despite energy limitations. Their whole society is built around the same principle we use, Lisa realized: technological redundancy. They moved through the corridors, following Nex's directions to the central generator. They encountered resistance, void crawler guards armed with both energy and physical weapons, but the team's combined tactics proved effective. John and Kyle's projectile weapons worked perfectly, while Trell and Nix used their knowledge of void crawler biology to identify vulnerable points. Finally, they'd reached the central chamber. Inside was a massive machine, the primary dampening field generator. It hummed with power, surrounded by void crawler technicians. At a control panel stood a larger figure, clearly their leader. "That's the Archon," Nix whispered, "the leader of those who left the Confederation." The Archon turned as they entered, eyes widening at the sight of both humans and Confederation members working together. "So the Council sends its servants with their primitive allies," the Archon said, voice clicking and hissing. "Too late. The field will activate in minutes, and your precious energy civilization will fall." "We're not here to fight," Lisa said, stepping forward with her weapon lowered. "We're here to talk." The Archon laughed, a harsh chittering sound. "Talk? After 300 years of exile." Trell moved forward, all 6 limbs in a formal position. "The Confederation was wrong to cast out the Venlat. These humans have shown us that your approach was correct all along. Technological diversity is strength, not weakness." The Archon hesitated, compound eyes studying them carefully. "Pretty words. Why should I believe them?" "Because we're here," John said simply. "Our mixed technology got us through your defenses. Neither approach alone would have worked." For long moments, the chamber was silent except for the hum of the generator. Then the Archon made a gesture, and the void crawler technicians stepped back from their controls.